What you doing? I'm the AC and this is alcoholandanime! Okay, so for this one, I am talking about the classic anime film Robot Carnival. And I'll say classic, but I'd never even heard of this one until like a month or so ago, maybe a few weeks ago. But it sounded really cool. I saw reviews of it that made it sound like it should be a masterpiece. And I mean, just to go ahead and say, it's pretty phenomenal, the stuff they do in this film. But I want to save this, make it a kind of special showing, really watch it, pay attention to it, because there's a lot going on in this one. But before I get into all of that, I will also say this is another live stream recording of this podcast. I'm live streaming on my Twitch, and in case anybody wants to stop by, ask questions. I've also seen this. That's what I'm doing. I'm going to be doing this for a while. So if you're listening to this, you're like, what if I could have listened to this live? You can. I'm going to be doing this every other week on Thursdays. So you can, if you've watched what I've watched, you can go ahead and hop on by. It's the AC Stories also on Twitch. But yeah, let me just jump in to talking about the alcohol first, of course, because this one I was like, because I knew, or because I thought I knew this was going to be a great movie. I really want to do something special for the drinks, but now it's hard to think of like what would be a good drink for something called Robot Carnival. Okay, well of course robot. I'm thinking, something robotic, something metallic, something kind of like oily. And I was like, well, when you think of oil, it's like something black kind of drink. And I was like, Jaeger's black. It's like, I don't really want to drink Jaeger again. Then it dawned on me. I've had beers that are robot, named after robot something, robot themed. I was like, I think I had a drink that was just a picture of a robot head called Robot something, Robot IPA, Robot. Yeah, that might have been a real drink. But I also remembered not long ago, I also had a sour beer called Dr. Robot. Woo! And I was like, oh yeah. So pretty much because I wasn't completely sure what exactly the brand was or what it was called, if it even had robot on it, which this one technically does. It has little robots. Inside of ties. I don't know what's up with the tie. I know it's called Doctor Robot, but I never thought of doctors with ties. I guess it's not a medical doctor they're thinking of. I don't know. But yeah, this is a sour beer, blackberry lemon sour, and I was like, oh, that's cool. It's neat. But is it carnival enough? Because this is Robot Carnival. So, while I went looking through the beer section of liquor store, and luckily did find this, I also found some other colorful little additions. Ooh, and I was like, ooh, different colors, that's fun. So that's about where I'm at. I mix a little bit of these into the sour beer, which works out because they're fruit flavored anyways. Just mix them in a glass, and now I got colorful sour Mr. Dr. Robot. I don't know exactly what to call this, so that might actually be the name. And so I didn't even realize until I bought it. These are bootleggers, super cheap. They're not bad. They taste super cheap, but they're 10%. Even for this little bottle, which is like 6.8 ounces, it was like almost $2. It was less than $2. I was like, okay, well, I'm going to try them anyways. So yeah, good beer, stuff, I guess, and bootleggers. People don't have the highest standards or highest praise for bootleggers, but that's fine. It was colorful, and the main reason I did it too was for my short. And I was really skeptical about my short because one, I didn't even plan on making them until after recording. and but now I've been getting to the point of where I've been wanting to record them beforehand. But then it's like I need the ideas, and a lot of these things I haven't seen before. So I need to see the movie before I make the short, so I know exactly what I'm going to do. And then I need to record the podcast because I don't know exactly what I'm going to say that's going to make me record a short. Because that's how they started before. Is I just made a short based off of whatever I talked about in the recording. So I try to hold off on this, but I was like, okay, Robot Carnival. I know what this will be about. I'll make something fun, be colorful, and that's why I got those 3 little bootleggers. And the sour beer has robot in the name, so that works good enough. And I'm not going to tell you what I thought of, but I will say I'm going to stick with what I thought of because this was Robot Carnival, just as phenomenal as I was expecting, so much more crazy, and definitely not story-wise what I was expecting. I was expecting something a lot more fun, and a lot of this stuff is a lot more dark. Whoa. Dang. So I'm going to stick with a more happy, upbeat kind of thing. I don't know. I feel like if you say there's a twist, that kind of ruins people's expectations because they're going to know there's a twist coming. But something like that. So I'm looking forward to that. But as far as the drinks go, the bootleggers mix well with the sour beer. As far as being robotic tasting, I guess it kind of could be. Because, cheap alcohol in general already kind of has a bite to it, a weird bite to it. Maybe not necessarily metallic, but it is a bite that I guess you could associate with robots if you wanted to. But I don't know, mixing it with the sourness also kind of has a little different bite to it. I don't know. It's not metallic, but I guess it's pretty close. It's as metallic as you could think of without actually being metallic. And it's crazy. It is kind of crazy to go with this film in the first place. So, yeah, it's a pretty simple thing. I could have looked up recipes, I'm sure, of robot drinks or carnival drinks. I'm really trying to think of something myself. Now, so I used or would want to do, but I have no idea how I'm going to do it for this one because of how crazy it is. Is there's like 9 stories, really like 8, and even then more like 7 actual stories. I would want to make a drink for each story, or at least describe a drink for each story, but oof, these are wild, and it's like, I kind of could, they also could be kind of the same. I don't know, it'll be hard. So I'm going to skip over that part because there are 9-ish stories I could get to, and if I'm going to try to keep this podcast in an hour, I'm going to have to not spend an hour on each one. And if I already talk about the alcohol itself for an hour, it's going to be way too long. I'm going to try to stick with an hour. So, I guess I should go ahead and get done with this alcohol part, go right into talking about this film. So, it is older. It came out in 1987 in Japan. And it's just a anthology of OVAs. It eventually came to North America in 1991, which is really surprising, actually. That something like this ever came to America. But it was, I don't know, it's a weird thing. I don't know where or how it released. It says in theaters, and it says the North America version was the segments were rearranged. I don't know why or how or why it would matter. I know there is one, I'll get to it later, that is pretty kind of critical of the West, and I wouldn't be surprised if that one would have just been taken out. But yeah, so I already mentioned there's 9-ish, 8 to 9. I'm going to say 9 because of the way they put it in the movie. But yeah, it's just more visually stunning. The music is also phenomenal. It was composed by Joe Hisaishi, who, if you don't know, did a lot of the Studio Ghibli film scores. So pretty influential composer, and this would be when does Studio Ghibli films start? I'm not sure. I feel like this would be either right before or right in the beginning with it. Uh, it looks like no, he started some of the Studio Ghibli films came before this. So yeah, he was already a well-established composer, and but for sure the music of this is phenomenal. It definitely makes the film, um, this and the animations, that actual animating of it. As far as story wise, there's 8 different stories, um, all by different directors. Some who had apparently no directing experience at the time. So yeah, it's almost just seems like it is an experiment of sorts that paid off. And but yeah, I don't know how I never heard of this before because it is good, and I can see why it'd be a classic. But dang, 1987, I guess that is really old. I don't watch too much old stuff either. I try to keep up with what's current, and I work so hard in doing that. I kind of forget some of the older stuff. I didn't watch Akira until last year, 2020, I think, or maybe it was 2019. No, I'm pretty sure it was 2020 when I watched Akira. So really, for me, this isn't surprising that I want to know about it. But I feel like at least among like anime fans, even like more my age, I feel like more people would know about this. But no, I feel like it was mainly an older audience that still remembered this. But it is wild. Was there any other little information I want to talk about before I get right into it? I mean, there's plenty I'm going to talk about whenever I get to each of the stories. But overall, I guess that's going to be it. It seems like a phenomenally successful, even if it's not like, box office successful or like people remember it successful. In my opinion, a phenomenally successful work of art in both animation and music. Story wise, some of them are pretty basic, some of them are confusing, or they just seem like something you've already seen. Even with it being old, some of what these stories come from are also old. Uh, but I'll get to each of those individually. So I guess since I'm starting to hint at some of the stuff, I might as well move on to the first kind of story. I keep wanting to say story, but this first, it has an opening and an ending, which all plays into the same story. And I don't really. It sounds mean to say, but before I even say what it's about, it reminds me of like some kind of chaotic little short you would see on like Robot Chicken, maybe, or at least something on Adult Swim you see that night. If anybody watches those, that's definitely what it reminded me of. It's just chaotic. It's kind of like defeats your expectations, and it's just supposed to seem like fun, but it's also kind of like crazy and deadly. So what it is, this very first one, which appropriately I guess is just called opening. All it is this kid finds like a flyer that says coming soon. If there was more on it, I missed it. I just never watched this. I didn't go back and do a detailed analysis of everything. Which, I guess I always forget this until after I start. There's going to be a lot of spoilers in this. This is not a super in-depth analysis of the film. It's not even really a review. It's just me going through and talking about what I like. And if there's anything that sticks out that I really want to focus on or whatever, it's not even a reaction. I don't want to say that. But yeah, I mean, there is stuff that you can compare to nowadays. It's just it's more like a segue to having topic of conversation. Even if it's just me by myself, I'm fine with talking by myself. If I had chat, cool. If I had someone else on here, cool. But yeah, there's none of these, so there's plenty to talk about. I mean, if you ever want to say anything or ask anything, feel free to. I'm always down for that. But yeah, so it's just a kid finds this flyer, says something like coming soon, runs back to his little sand village, shows everyone, and then the rumbling starts. A bunch of shaking, and off in the horizon, over the sand dunes, you see Robot Carnival, which is pretty much what's on the poster for the film. Just this giant Robot Carnival, actually spelt out Robot Carnival in English characters and all that stuff. It's just like a moving fortress, it kind of looks like, or I guess a moving robotic carnival. And it's just like this big show's going on. All these robots coming out, dancing, fireworks, all this stuff. Except for everything they're doing, it's just like destroying the houses, destroying the area. It's just run straight through it. And that's why I'm getting the crazy Adult Swim vibes from it. It's like, oh, this big show and everything. It's like, it's so cool, but it's actually really dark because everything's getting destroyed. It's like, oh no. Oh, cool way to start it. And that's like, wow, I should have known then. This isn't going to be what I expected. I mean, I guess it was still flashy, and it definitely was a robot carnival, as literal as you can get. And except for even weirder, I guess. But yeah, I didn't even realize this was going to be what it was going to be for at least a couple more stories into it. Oh. Okay, so that's the first part of it. Not really a story, but just opening. The rest of the story is at the end, in the ending, and credits, kind of. The first real story, or what I'm going to call first real story, it's called Franken's Gears. This is pretty much Frankenstein, but if you had a robot. It's basically just this scientist trying to bring a robot to life or get a robot working. He's just desperately trying to do everything he can. Everything seems like it's about to start falling apart. So he's working hard trying to do it before it does. And then right when he seems like he's giving up, a miracle happens. And the robot comes to life after some phenomenal animation. I really want to just make this clear. The animation, the music, the sound effects, everything in this is an entire experience. I just started drinking, and I thought I was already losing my mind. I was like, how much I drank was in this? It's not that strong, and it was just phenomenal. I was like, man, I wish I was super drunk for this one. I will say, though, they started off way too strong, because this was my favorite one out of all of them, and as cool as it was, I was like, oh, maybe, I don't know, maybe they didn't expect it to be like this, or maybe they did want a strong opening, but this was by far my favorite. Not even story-wise. Like I said, it's just Frankenstein and him creating a robot that he can control, kind of. And then all it does is he finally rises. He can finally control it, and then he gets carried away, starts destroying his building, accidentally falls over. Since it controlled by his emotions, since he falls over, I'm assuming the robot falls over and crushes him. It doesn't show that specific part, but that's what can be assumed. That's what I would assume. Whatever. But yeah, it's really the sound effects, if anything. Honestly, a lot of these, but especially this one, easily could be like horror. And maybe that's why I was so fascinated by it. Mainly because of sound, and maybe because it's old, and it has that old animation style, and it just makes it seem a little more creepy than it actually is. And maybe it was completely not their intent. Even though I guess Frankenstein was kind of a horror. Is it considered gothic horror? I don't know, something like that. So yeah, this one definitely had a gothic edge to it, but I feel like all of them do, so it might just be kind of the style, the animation style kind of makes it seem like that more than that was the intentional purpose of it. But this one, I don't know how to convey how amazing and just how stunning all the animation, music, and sound effects worked in this. And there's no talking. Even the scientist at most makes like grunts and stuff. There's only 2 stories in this entire film that have any kind of talking, voice acting. The rest at most is like grunts. Uh, so even with all that, that's all you need. And it tells this story perfectly. I mean, it's simple, but you know exactly what's going on just by the animation and expressions of the character. I could almost probably just talk about this one short for the rest of them. But I still have 7 more to go, so I gotta move on. Next one is Deprive. This one's a little weird. There's a few of these that are kind of more straightforward, like Frankensteer's, but Deprive, a couple others, kind of more like I think I know what's going on. I'm pretty sure, but I could be interpreting it wrong. All this one is like a woman's kidnapped by some robots from her robot or robot friend or robot lover, something like that. And this feels like it's just part of a much larger story. And, you know, I see shorts that do stuff like this. I'm almost like I feel like there's just so much missing that I'm not getting. And it was like it could be a cool story. It might be a kind of typical story, but yeah, this woman's kidnapped. Her robot, whatever, isn't able to stop her from getting kidnapped. But then, a little cut, and you see this like strong man, some kind of powerful man, just run around, kind of fighting off robots. And you realize he's going to go save her. And it turns out it's the robot friend. And this is where I'm like, was that robot? Did it have a human mind? That's kind of like flashes back and forth between like robot, human face, and it's back and forth like they're inside each other. It's like, was this a robot with human mind and then it takes on a human appearance? Was this a human that had to get turned into a robot because of some kind of accident? And it's like, I don't exactly know, but it kind of goes back and forth a couple times until he finally meets up with some green hair person, which I don't think was a robot. May have been a robot or an android or something. Fights him, beats him, of course, saves the girl. That's pretty much it. Like, it's pretty straightforward. It's just that one mystery. It's like, is this a robot or a human? A robot with a human mind? A human that is just disguised as a robot or has a robot body? I don't know. Something weird going on with that. The other thing, of course, animation phenomenal too on this one. But even though it's all over the place, whereas Frankensteer's is like centered in this one room with this one subject, Deprive was a lot more action packed. But not only that, it had very 80s action music going on. And it's I guess it's not really considered a stereotype, but yeah, a very stereotypical 80s soundtrack going on during all this fighting. And that was almost funny and cool. It'll be really nostalgic. But this movie was also made in the 80s, so it's not even like they did it for any cheesy effect. That's just kind of how it was. But the music for this one definitely is just a lot different than the rest of them. It's almost in a funny way. Now that I'm in the future, nearly almost 30 years, like 25 years in the future since it's been made. No, because I was born after this movie was made, and I'm older than 25. Whoa, wait, it has been 30 years. About 35 years. Yeah, wow, this movie is old. So yeah, 80s sound and music. Makes sense. Even if it seems cheesy. Next one is Presence. This one's really long, and this was by far the most confusing one. And I'm still not completely sure what was going on, or what it was supposed to be. And it didn't help that this is the first one that actually has voice acting, and it took me until this one to realize I was watching it in English. Because I was watching this on Crunchyroll. You can watch it on other kind of places for free, like Tubi. I think it's also free on Voodoo, Pluto. But since I have Crunchyroll already, I just watched it on Crunchyroll. I don't know when it came on Crunchyroll, but that's where I found it, and that's where I watched it. But Crunchyroll had, at least when I was looking at it, has both the Japanese and the English labeled as dubbed. And technically, I guess it's true. One is just dubbed in English, the other is dubbed in Japanese. But I was like, I was looking through and I was like, okay, well, the first one I saw said dubbed. I was like, oh, that's going to be the English. So I clicked on the other one, I guess without even looking on it. And then it was the English. And I was like, wait, what? That's weird. It took me, this is the fourth short. It took me until then to realize I was watching English. Because it didn't matter. And I was like, whoa, why do they sound British? And I was like, talking in English. And it's like, oh, wait, this isn't the Japanese version. And so I had to switch real quick. I mean, just a minor inconvenience, but it did throw me off. It was a weird thing because I spent 3 shorts, which at this point was about 20 minutes in, of just hearing like grunts and other weird noises, no talking. And then you suddenly hear talking, and you're like, oh, and it's British. And I was like, oh, it's like, what? But besides that, get back to Japanese, still throws me off. It's weird, especially since there's only 2. But the story of this one, I'm not completely sure because it opens up with what looks like an android that gets his head knocked off. And they all look completely human, but it looks like it's some kind of android human, whatever, gets his head knocked off. And then a bunch of what I assumed were, they're either human kids or other robot kids that were just kicking around his head. And it does it for a little bit. The opening scene of it, and then later in another scene, you just see him messing with his head. So I assumed, since they don't really describe the story, even when there is finally voice acting, I just assumed this was a robot of android or a town of androids, and everyone's androids and whatever. But then it shows the main character. And I guess he's human. I'm not sure. But everything looks creepy, and they look like they should be robots. So I don't know if he was the only human. But then I'm pretty sure you see his wife at the end, and she still looks human. Like she grew old, unless the androids are programmed to look old or go and get maintenance, and maybe they all are androids. I don't know. But this guy apparently was making like a secret female robot in like some creepy shed way off in the woods. He was being sneaky about it. And I was like, okay, that's weird. I guess that's weird. Even if they were all robots, I was like, yeah, that'd be weird for another robot to sneak off to make more robots. He was just making a female one. He was talking about how you want to feel loved and all that stuff. It's like, okay, well, you have a lot. Why? And he was like, it's kind of very, I don't know, masochist. No, I mean that too. Like a very masculine kind of stereotypical dominance that he was wanting to assert because he was complaining about how his wife does so much more than him and how he kind of feels useless or whatever. So he was making a female robot kind of so he could feel like he has power over something. So this creepy shed full of toys, which is another weird, confusing part. Which means was like, okay, is he a robot with a child's brain? Because when the robot woman finally does come to life, she even mentions like, "Oh, you're just a child" or something like that. And I was like, "What?" This one was really confusing. It made no sense to me. Uh, and then he finally has this robot to love him or whatever. And when she tries, he's just like, I don't want you now. I want to play with my toys. I don't know. It's a weird thing. It's a big, like, you only want what you can't have. Now that he finally has it, he doesn't want it. And it's like, okay, I don't get that. That's weird. She tries to get his attention. Well, one, she is kind of rude about it. He has a table full of toys. She kind of just, like, slings them off. It's like, pay attention to me. And I was like, oh, so this is definitely a woman robot. I don't know, that might sound sexist, but yeah, I'm kidding. But then, like, he's just ignoring her, wanting to play with toys, and then she tries to hug him or something, and he freaks out. and he just flips. And I was like, oh, maybe it's because he's cheating on his wife with this robot, and he realizes what he's done is weird, and then he kind of just destroys her. Yeah, and it's like, okay, it all happened so fast. Then it skips to him being old, and he's just like, I don't know. He's just thinking about it. He has a granddaughter now, it looks like. So I assume like his kid grew up, his wife got old, and he's old now. So I guess they're not robots or androids, or maybe they still are. Or maybe they're just a different type or something. The beginning really made it weird. There's no reason, unless I'm missing something, for that opening scene of some robot dude getting his head knocked off and played with, and still being alive. So I don't know. But then it's like he's haunted by the robot he made and killed. She comes to him in like a dream, falls apart. He goes back to the shed, sees her, gets sad about it, goes back again to his porch. This time he made a little toy kind of like her. And then you see her pop up again. This time they just walk off together while the wife comes out and is like, what the fuck? What is this? And he just walks off and disappears. And that's that. I have no idea what was really going on in that. It's a weird one. And I still haven't figured it out. This whole it's about an hour. This one was the longest. Over 20, maybe even nearly 30 minutes long. And I was just confused the entire time. But yeah, I don't know if I said the name of it. It's called Presence. But yeah, I don't even know how to interpret it, really. Oh well. Let's move on to the next one. Because this one was not as confusing. It was a little weird. Actually, it was a little confusing at one point. It's more just the shock factor with the twist at the end. Nothing like super bad or whatever. It's just like, oh, okay, you did that. Yeah, this next one is called Starlight Angel. And it's pretty much, there's these two girls just chilling out at an amusement park. There's like, I guess it's robot thing. Now, this is the closest to a Robot Carnival there is. They see some kind of robot, and they like rush past it, kind of bump into it, and the main girl like drops her necklace. I assume they're running off because one of the girls is going to go meet her boyfriend, and is taking her friend along. But when they go and see the boyfriend, turns out her friend's boyfriend is also her boyfriend. Oh, he's getting two-timed. Of course, the friend didn't know that, which is a good friend. But it also is the guy is the one that gave her the necklace she just lost to the robot. So she runs off. Then the robot goes on a quest to look for her, and somehow she ends up getting on a ride, flying through the air, and looking down, seeing just like a park full of robots. Then the robot she bumped into with her necklace catches up to her, tries to get the necklace back. She doesn't want it. Then a giant robot attacks. This is where it gets really weird. I was like, what is going on? It took such a twist. And eventually it settles down. You know, this big robot, the one robot saves her from the big robot. And then they get down. And it turns out this robot, just a guy in a robot costume. I was like, okay, comparing this to like Deprive, where I was like, I don't know exactly if it's robot or man or whatever. No, I'm pretty sure this one's just a guy in a robot costume. I don't know what the whole flying and fighting the giant robot was about. Maybe she was just delusional, or it was all a ride and she was just going crazy. The stress of it was making her see it differently than it actually was. But yeah, it was just a regular dude. And they leave the park, and then the dude comes out after them too, and I guess it ends happily. It was, it was just a little weird part. That part where it just reveals to be a regular person in a robot costume. I'm like, what? What? Everything else has been robots. What's up with this? I don't know. I just don't know. Next, another one that I have no idea what it actually was, but it's called Cloud. And this one definitely went for the artistic value of trying to do something experimental and new and different from everything else that's in this film. And it's just like a little robot child, and it's walking in these different size frames. And it's just like a box, and it starts off as a little square, then it kind of grows into a rectangle, and then another rectangle until it gets a little bigger throughout. And this kid's just walking through. It almost looks like a loading screen, and it's just robot kids in a corner of it. Scenes playing out behind him. It's like he's walking or on a little journey, traveling lands and doing whatever. And maybe he's almost seems like he's a refugee, and it's just like trying to get away or find some kind of safe place. But I don't. There's so much going on at this point. The alcohol really was hitting me, so I'm not sure what was going on. I was seeing bombs. I was seeing like maybe cloud people, angels, I guess. That I don't know. And then everything goes bad. Then things seem to get better. Most of it's in black and white too. So yeah, definitely a big artistic thing. The music, it was. I already compared it, the whole thing overall, to like a loading screen. I would also compare this to like a loading screen, like kind of elevator. It's like an exciting elevator, a moderately more exciting elevator music, I guess, if there's something actually to it. But yeah, definitely just a piece of animated art is what I would call this. I don't know what happened with the story. I'm going to assume it's a robot kid refugee just trying to find a safe place because it looked like there was war and bombs and stuff, and then angels and whatever. But it was weird. And then I think he becomes a real boy at the end. I don't know. The only noticeable color, I might have just been seeing things, was in his eyes. It was like a purplish shade. And then at the end, in the last scene, it gets color, and then like ends with a final scene as like a card, almost like what looks like a tarot card. I don't know if it actually is a tarot card. That would be cool if people just made shorts based off all the tarot cards. But yeah, that's kind of what it reminded me of. I absolutely did not understand anything that was going on. It was something. Okay, next one. I already kind of briefly hinted at this one earlier. The next one is called Strange Tales of Meiji Machine Culture: The Westerners' Invasion. If there was any short from this that was probably be taken out or changed in the English release, it probably would have been this one. But this one did something actually unique, which you don't see enough in anime even nowadays, 35 years later, and they still don't do this for some reason. This one also has voice acting in it, but not only that, it has both Japanese and English. And it's like, okay, well, yeah, they speak English sometimes. It has an actual English voice actor speaking the English parts, instead of just like a Japanese voice actor trying to act English or whatever. And then it has the actual Japanese. So there's this cool actual interaction with languages. And accents, I guess. It's actual speaking in a more natural way. Because, I'm not going to hate on Japanese voice actors that try to play American or English of some sort speaking character. But it does always sound awkward, and it doesn't sound natural. So, seeing that they did this in the 80s, I'm actually pretty stoked for it. I thought that was really cool. Now, of course, because of the title, the Westerner, the English-speaking person, is invading some kind of Meiji-era city, and which is very accurate. I don't know. I wouldn't know if this is actually based off anything in particular. If there was an event that happened, but that's definitely what it's going for, because the U.S. like to do that. But so did Japan. So it's not like it's completely one-sided. But in this case, it is. The white person definitely came and was like, let's invade. And he has a giant robot that he's attacking with. And then And actually, Robot's kind of cool. It does seem like older, and it made me think, it's like, oh yeah, you never really see old robots made out of like wood and stuff. You always see big metallic ones. No, they have wood robots, but luckily, the locals also have a big wooden robot that they bust out, and they just kind of fight each other, mostly with cannons until they run out, and then they have to bring them close together, which is a whole lot of work because they run out of fuel supplies pretty quickly. And this one is the most comical one, I would say, out all of them, and it definitely works out. Of course, locals win and whatever, but yeah, it mainly reminds me, and I don't know exactly. I'm trying to remember the name. Uh, what of like giant fighting robots. I can't remember the actual name of what are they called. What's the series? Uh, I don't know, like Power Rangers, something like that. Mechazoids, maybe. I don't know. I'm just thinking of anything I can. But I feel like this is probably the start of it. And there must have been something beforehand that was also like this. Um, I'm just not remembering it, and that is a sadness. Let me see. Oh, there's a lot. Yeah, I'm not even gonna bother. A big, uh, mecha kind of thing. But yeah, just gonna remind me of like Power Rangers and whatever. Big giant fighting robots. Okay. Ooh, getting close to the end. I'm making decent time, I guess. Number 8 is Chicken Man and Redneck. This one also kind of a really creepy one, and also very unique take the way I interpreted it, because it has to do with like demon robots, and it's something I never thought about before. And I don't know if that's exactly what they're supposed to be, but I definitely thought of them as demon robots. So there's like this, who I assume is supposed to be the redneck. A completely different meaning, I assume, than what redneck means in America. But I was calling it Red Robot Hood, because that's kind of what it looks like. It was like some robot riding around with the red hood or something. So yeah, I just called it Red Robot Hood. And it was just going around zapping electronics and stuff. And then like these robotic demons came out, and they just started destroying the city. There's some big robot, whatever, I guess, behind it, trying to destroy the city. And then appears our hero, Chicken Man. And I wasn't exactly sure why he's called Chicken Man, because I feel like him running away from everything is completely justified. Maybe he delivers chicken. Maybe that's because I just watched All of Us Are Dead, and one of the families owned a chicken restaurant, and they delivered chicken. So when I see Chicken Man, that's what I think of, even though this is Japanese and that was Korean. But yeah, it's just Red Robot Hood going around creating these robot demons. Chicken Man wakes up in like an alley and just goes on running and gets chased by Red Robot Hood, and that's pretty much it until he like kind of escapes its grasp, but then is still trapped in this like taken over city of robots. But I don't know if it was just one section of robots, because then it pans out and you can kind of see like the rest of the city looks normal. It looks like it was just this one block just got taken over. But I don't know. That's pretty much all it was. This is another very animation Marvel phenomenal kind of artwork, sounds, everything. Which I guess, being kind of the second from last, is kind of like a good wrap up. You have this strong animation, and in the beginning with Frankie Gears, you can also end it strong with Chicken Man and Redneck. No talking needed, just a bunch of kind of flashy, animation heavy, sound heavy, kind of stuff going on. So it's really cool way to end it. Yeah. I say ending, but there is still more. Continuing the story from the very beginning, we finally come to the ending. And it picks right up with the giant Robot Carnival. Kind of just chilling at Sandu. looks like it's kind of reached the end of where it was going, or it just got stuck. It just stopped for some reason. It's just chilling in the sand, and while that happens, the credits start rolling. And yeah, cool credits goes through each of the stories. Yeah, I'm not going to explain credits to you. You could probably figure it out. But then afterwards, it shows this Robot Carnival giant machine just falls apart. I guess it was old. It came to the end of its journey for real. And that's kind of all this ending was. And I was like, oh, okay, that makes sense. And then the black and white actual scrolling credits or whatever. I don't remember the actually scroll or not. But the rest of the credits play. And then after those credits, wow, another after credit scene. They did it before Marvel did. There's another little scene of it. I don't know how much time has passed. It looks time has passed because somebody wandering the desert finds the remains of this, but everything's pretty much covered. And he finds a little orb, and he takes it back home. And it's like, aw. He opens it. It kind of opens up, and it looks like this cute little robot. And up pops up like some kind of little carnival dancer or whatever. And all the family's just having a good time. Look how cute it is. Then it blows up. And I was like, what? Okay. Sure. Dark way to end that. And that's it. It just blows up and it's over. No more credits. Just that. And I was like, okay, sure. End this on an even more chaotic, dark note. You thought you could have had a happy ending to where the carnival actually meant a little bit of what a carnival was supposed to be. But no, they're just determined to make it dark. Maybe this was meant to be like some kind of horror thing. Because it easily could. A lot of these, even if they didn't seem horror at first, easily twist them into being something like that. Make them even darker. Just a little bit. It wouldn't even take that much work. But, I really enjoyed it. It was great. I don't know how I missed out on this so much. I kind of just ran through a lot of these. Frankengear is definitely my favorite. I guess I could rank all these. Actually, hang on. If I was to rank all these in my favorites. Okay. So number one is definitely Frankengears. It was great, even if it's just based off of Frankenstein. It's like at a loss for the right words. I could say all kinds of stuff, but nothing would actually convey how cool this animation was and everything involved with it. Second would be... Oh, actually, I would say second would be Chicken Man and Redneck. For the same reasons. That I still like Frankengears better. The same reason. Just animation and everything overall. And how cool it was to see. And just experience it all. Third. Ooh, I feel bad for saying it. But I just like the darkness and how chaotic and unexpected it was. I'm going to put opening and ending together because they pretty much fit as one story. But yeah, opening and ending, especially with that last scene. I don't know, the darkness, the unexpected of it, the way they was trying to make it seem like celebratory and cheery, and when it was really just deadly and destructive. I don't know. I liked it. I liked it for those reasons, and so yeah, I'll put that as number 3. Number 4. What would I will say number 4 probably Strange Tales of Meiji Machine Culture, the Westerners Invasion. Even though this is something we would see more, I like the creativeness of seeing like old robots, and it actually did kind of have a story, and the fact that they did an actual English voice actor with the actual Japanese voice actors, and that's really cool. Even though the story is like cool, mecha fight, giant robot fight. I like the humor in it. It's the only really humorous one that's purely humor. So I guess I'll leave that. Well, was that number 4? I need to keep some fingers up that way I can tell what I'm actually remembering. So number 5. Oof, this is where it's going to get a little hard. I'm going to say Starlight Angel with the girl in the park. Even though that twist at the end was weird, it still made sense. Everything that was going on, as much sense as this weirdness could take. I guess the twist. I don't know. I do like the unexpected, and that's what really gets me for this one. But same thing. I don't even feel like I should count animation and music and stuff like that because I won't say for all of them they're great. But I mean, this one too, especially her fighting or trying to escape the giant robot she just kind of flew up to. I make some of these sound ridiculous, but so that leaves number 6, which is what I got left. I'm gonna say Deprive. Uh, this is kind of on the same thing as Strange Tales of Meiji Machine Culture. Just fighting robots, and also mixing up with Starlight Angel with not knowing what if the robot. These last 3 are all going to be really confusing to me, and that's why they're at my last 3. But Deprived still was cool action stuff. Got that classic 80s sound of music, which sounds cheesy but kind of funny. Kind of nice either way. So that's number 6, I said? Yeah. Now here's the hard one for me to determine. So all I got left is Cloud and Presence. Both of them are weird. Both of them I didn't really understand. But I'm going to put Cloud as number 7 because the unique experimental kind of animation. Even though I didn't really understand what was going on with the story, and even though it kind of just seemed like a loading screen, I can kind of guess and I can interpret it however I want. But it's mainly for the art, the artistic styling of this short that I'm putting it not last. Which leads me to the last one, Presence. I don't know, I feel like this one was just doomed for me in the start, considering it's the one I realized I was listening to the wrong dude with, which maybe I should be more thankful to it. And it was just so much longer, and the longer it got, the more confused I got. None of the story made sense to me. I wasn't even sure if it was more robots. I wasn't sure what was robot, what was not. Maybe I just suck and I just couldn't figure it out on my own. I don't know. It might be all on me. Maybe this one makes a lot more sense to everyone else. I think it's because right away I just assumed everyone was robots. And then when he went and made another robot and then got old after destroying that robot, I just got completely confused and had no idea what was going on in this world. So that might have been me, and my own expectations kind of messed me up. Yeah, that is my ranking for all of these. Yeah, a lot of robot stuff, and it's not typical robot stuff either. It's not. They kind of like take a jab at. I don't even know if they're making. I wouldn't say they're making fun of it. They're kind of taking light inspiration from all these mecha we see now. But I don't know what the robot and mecha scene was like back in the 80s or before the 80s, even up until now. I mean, like Gundam and stuff like that becomes popular eventually. I don't know how old Gundam is, but I don't know. I also interpret this. I feel like all of these could represent some kind of society problem or human nature problem, stuff like that, and it's just depicted through robots. And it's kind of comparing like how robotic humans can be, or how messed up things can really be, or it can also be like this fear of technology and robots and stuff taking over. Because, like I said, a lot of this seem like horror, and if they're scared of robots and they're kind of doing this kind of stuff, that could kind of be why everything is like this. Because none of these are really that happy. Everything's kind of bleak, I guess. Even the more cheerful ones aren't like they're like super happy. They like still kind of violent or aggressive or whatever. So this could have been like more of a fear of robots, but then it's like you have all these creators making these, and it's like, is that what they went for in the beginning? I guess I could do more research into this, because I haven't actually looked into why this was made or all that. This is just me just guessing and interpreting what I saw and trying to figure out why. But whatever the reason was, it definitely turn out great. I can see why all those reviews I saw about it completely justified. This is phenomenal. I feel like anyone who would be into animation and stuff like this, uh, definitely a good start. Especially if you were going to do like, I guess technically not silent, but like silent anime type films or whatever, short films. This would be a phenomenal example. I keep saying phenomenal. I need to use more words, but it is. It's a great film to watch, or great shorts to watch, even individually. Ooh, I wish I would have knew about this sooner. If anything, it just teaches me that I need to go back and start watching this older stuff. I need to stop missing it. But yeah, this whole podcast for Robot Carnival is also a completely different thing. I mean, I'm kind of experimenting in my own right. This is the 9th episode, and I've already done weird stuff that I didn't intend to do. But going this far back to see a film and then do a podcast on it, definitely something new I've done for something old. Actually, a lot of my life recently has been doing old stuff in new ways, I guess. Weird. But yeah, I guess it's gonna be all I'm gonna say about Robot Carnival. Otherwise, it'll just be more me rambling. Probably more me just rambling on about why I liked Frankengear so much. I might go back and rewatch Frankengears just myself. I don't know. It was such a goofy looking scientist too. I don't know. Anyway, I'll leave it at that before I get too carried away. But yeah, if you're listening to this, well, one, thank you, of course. If you want to watch these live streamed like I'm doing with this one, you can. You can find me at the AC Stories on Twitch. Of course, I mean, if you're listening to this, you probably figured out, I still post these podcasts elsewhere on my YouTube, which is also the AC Stories, or any podcast platform, Alcohol Anime. It's on there. Look for it. I mean, you probably already found it. Thanks for listening. But yeah, if you want, you can also follow me on social media, the AC Stories. All just one word on everything except for Instagram. It's the_AC_stories. You can find me on there. Links will be in the description for you, so you can find those easily. But yeah, feel free to talk to me more about this. Message me, DM me, whatever, private messages, all that stuff. If you want to talk more about this, other stuff, on whatever social media you want to. I also have an email, theacstories@gmail. Or at Yahoo. I use them both actually, but technically Alcohol Anime is under the Yahoo one, but I check Gmail more often. But yeah, so yeah, feel free to talk to me and all that stuff. Let me know what your favorite ones was, or your least favorite, and all that. Let me know if you've watched this before now obviously, like growing up, or you just knew about it, and if you also didn't even realize what a masterpiece this was. I don't know if when they made this, if they intended it for being a masterpiece, or if it was just an experimental thing they were doing. Huh. Weird. Yeah, I don't know. But, yeah, thank you so much for watching. Until next time, I'm the AC. Bye.